who's got a memory that it feels like it's strong auditory? There's really like there's in that memory is something you heard, and it could be a tone of voice, something you heard. Who's got one?
Yeah, I have one. I definitely have one.
Perfect. Step one then is I'm going to ask you if you're willing to play with us. I won't ask you any details about like the content, but if you're willing,
Okay.
are you willing to play with me on this just so we can demo
Sure.
it? Okay, great.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I'm going to spotlight you.
Okay.
And first thing I want to know is give it a code word, as long as you know what it means for this memory.
Okay, got it.
What's the code word?
Red.
Red. Okay, great. Now, what I want you to do is go ahead and make a picture of red in your mind. Think of red, notice what you see, notice what you hear. And on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the worst. And this is not a trauma though, right? We're not doing a trauma. We want you to stay resourceful. Okay. Yeah. So on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the worst, rate it for me on that scale of 0 to 10.
The auditory
Just
noise.
when you think of this memory, when you think of
Oh, okay.
memory,
Okay, got it.
how icky is it on that ick scale of 0 to 10?
I can make it a 10 real quick.
Okay, so look at 10. Perfect. Okay. So what we're going to do, with your permission, is we are going to just adjust the audio quality of this, folks. Okay. And so first, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about the sound part of this. Last week we did the picture. Today we're going to focus on the sound. First question is this: if you only heard it coming in one ear, the left or the right, which ear would it be?
The left.
Okay.
My
The
left.
Mhm.
My left.
Beautiful. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and pretend you can just reach up and grab it like it's a speaker and move it around to the right and only hear it coming in the right ear. And then just re-rate it for me on a scale of 0 to 10.
Okay. It's really different now. I would say it's normal. It's like a 2.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay. That was huge for you. Okay. So it's like a 2. All right.
It's huge.
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead and put it back
Oh, okay.
if you want. Just to reset it. We're just seeing which makes a bigger difference, and then you can let it go where it wants to go. Now what I want you to do is I want you to just try and speed it up. Make it play twice as fast. You know how like they used to take those records and speed them up, make it sound like the Chipmunks?
Mhm.
What's it like when you hear it twice as fast?
It's a little worse. I would say it
Mhm.
definitely goes up on the scale because the intensity is still there of the sound.
So maybe give me a number if you can from 0 to 10.
And it's like an 11.
11.
Makes my shoulders
Oh,
go
wow.
up and I really hate it.
Okay, let's try hearing it twice as slow, like slow motion. Slow motion.
My breathing has changed. Ooh, yeah, it feels so different, slower, way better. Probably goes down to about a 7.
About a 7? Okay, great. Okay. Now, I want you to, I'm curious, is the sound coming from inside of you or outside of you?
Huh, that's a good question. Outside of me.
Outside. Okay. Try moving it to inside. And again, we're just curious to see how it changes.
I actually moved it to different parts of my body. I don't know if I'm supposed to do that, but like in my chest, it was still probably a 7. But when I moved it to like my foot, it really went down in intensity to maybe a 6. That's so funny that it's turned into almost like a drum beat the lower I went into the earth.
Okay, interesting.
I don't know if that's normal or not, but it really changed it.
Yeah. So just go ahead and again, always resetting it in between. And what's really
back
interesting
to,
with you is the left to the right really seem to make the biggest difference. And so maybe it will go back there in a minute. But here's the final one we want to do. Now we could do endless. So remember, folks, a modality is like pictures, sounds, feelings, tastes, or smells. A submodality is a finer distinction. So I'm just doing submodalities of how we hear things: faster, slower, hearing it coming from a different location. Now, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you a question. This is a really great one to do with intrusive thoughts, folks. Whose voice tone is it, Lisa? And you don't have to tell me who it is, but I want you to become aware of whose voice tone it is, because sometimes it's our own voice and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it sounds a lot like mom or dad or some other impressionable figure in our life or some jerk at work.
not a person. Is that okay? I can make it a person, but the noise I was hearing wasn't a person.
Oh, it's
So
almost like an ambient sound. So it's not something you hear. It's not words.
it's a dog,
The dog. Interesting.
but I can make it a person. I have an annoying person in my life who I can make.
Well,
Yeah. I could
okay.
switch that up and make it a person. But yeah, this was um yeah, the what I used was a noise, but it was our dog, so I can own it. That's what you need me to do, is kind of have an
Need
ownership
you to
feeling of
no,
it.
I don't need you to own anything. But usually what happens,
Okay.
folks, is so if someone says, "Oh, it sounds, it's let's say it's their boss at work and it's a very distinct tone." Then a lot of times if we pretend, so what I would have them do is I'd have them try on like a goofy voice. I'd have them hear the same
Oh,
thing they're hearing, but in a goofy voice. Now,
okay.
for this, since it's your dog, that's interesting. Let's hear it coming from another type of dog, perhaps an imaginary dog, perhaps Goofy, because Goofy was in fact a dog. Roof, roof, roof. Just try hearing it from another dog tone voice. Maybe the world's smallest Chihuahua. Maybe the world's largest Labrador.
Yeah.
Maybe one of those dogs that's had vocal cords removed.
Oh my gosh. I've heard those dogs before.
They definitely sound different.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I
And
wonder if
so,
they know
I don't know, probably.
that they sound different.
But
Right.
let's try Goofy. Let's try Goofy. So whatever your
Hmm.
dog noise your dog's making, just imagine Goofy's doing it in his cartoonish voice,
Hmm.
whatever that sounds like to you, and re-rate it for me on a scale 0 to 10.
it's 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 probably like a 4 or 5. Hmm.
Probably like a 4 or 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. So the biggest one for you seemed to be when you moved it from left to right. Go ahead and put it back to the right. And how does that feel?
Better. My body, and I don't know if you all can see it, but like my breathing shifts. I can feel it physically. I can feel a shift in my breathing, in a relaxing, like goes over my face.
Hmm.
If I was there in person with you and you were working with me as a client, you would definitely see it. There's
Yeah,
just,
definitely
oh,
different.
so much better.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
sorry
So let's just go ahead and do this
about
now. So
some.
let's go ahead and shake it off, right? Go ahead and shake it off and maybe think about what you had for breakfast for a moment. You don't have to share it with us if you don't want to. Okay. Or what you didn't have
Okay.
for breakfast. And then what
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to do is when you're ready, go ahead and close your eyes and give it about 30 seconds to settle. Think of this, think of red again and let it show up any way it wants to show up. It'll probably move around a little bit. And so let it settle in wherever it wants to settle. And when it's done, without any effort, I just want you to re-rate it on a scale 0 to 10 to see how it wants to live inside of your mind and body now.
Oh, it's incredible. It just, the red just melted. I don't know if I'm giving you too much information, but oh, it's so relaxing. It's so nice to just
Uh-huh.
have shifted that to the other side.
Yeah.
That's
Now, does
really
everyone
nice.
notice that Lisa's motioning with that side of her head now? So that's indicating to me as the practitioner that it's probably
Yeah.
now living there. Would you say that that's accurate? It's now living on that right side where it feels better?
Mhm.
Yep. Isn't that cool, folks? And for whatever reason, that's just where it wants to live.
Uh,
So again, we're demonstrating a few things here that what we feel about things is truly, genuinely, I'll go ahead and remove the spotlight. It's genuinely relative, number one. And number two, it really also proves and supports this idea that the unconscious will always make the best choice available to it at the time. So if we give it a better option, it will default to that better option. It will do that. And that's exactly what's happening here. And so it's supporting this idea that choice is better than no choice. This is the hallmark of all the things that we're doing within NLP. Now, if you have a sound in your mind when you go to do this with another person that's like someone talking, I recommend you try the goofy voice. You can't do that. Try something like that. And for a lot of, I do believe this works for a lot of women too, but I know for guys, this one also, for a lot of guys, this works like gangbusters, is take that if you have like a disempowering voice, um, and give it a tone that feels very good to your nervous system. Like, have you ever heard someone talk to you and it's like their voice, they could read the phone book and you would just listen for hours? They have that kind of voice. It feels good and it makes you tingle and it just makes you feel really good, because this is all just about anchoring a different kind of feeling. So I'll give you a quick personal story and then we'll have you go into groups and practice this. So while I'm telling you the story, you might think of what's your memory you want to play with. And you're going to want to calibrate it before and afterwards, right? So before it was like a 10 for Lisa. And Lisa, if you recalibrated it now, how it feels now, where would you honestly say you're at now with it?
Oh, it's like a two. It's
Perfect.
normal.
Yeah. Okay, great. Feels like
Yeah,
a
it's
two.
so relaxing. That's incredible
Yep. Thank you. And
to
it'll just
move
stay
it.
there.
Yeah.
So mine was, I used to go to do stuff. I would go and do like a goal and I'd hear this voice that would go, you can't do that. And it was someone asked me a time, they're like, well, whose voice is it? I'm like, I think it's my dad's voice. And he would often kind of, criticize, you shouldn't do that. You got no business doing that. You can't do that, that kind of thing. And I never got rid of the voice. And it didn't stop me. What it would do is it was like, I thought of it like a speed bump in a parking lot that you didn't see coming. You ever have one of those where you're driving along and all of a sudden you hit the speed bump? It's like, and it doesn't stop you, but it's not pleasant. It's a little jarring at the time,
Mhm.
kind of gnarly. And so that's how it was with me. It didn't stop me. I replaced it with Demi Moore's voice. For those of you who know the actress Demi Moore, okay, when I was in high school, she was super popular. She had this very smoky, I mean, she could read the phone book to me and I would listen. And I loved her voice. It made every fiber in my being just happy. I'll just say that. And so all I did was I practiced hearing that same line, you can't do that, but in her voice, almost like she was teasing me, like, you can't do that. And it just had a completely different physiological response in my body. Long story short, never bothered me again. So that's what we're doing here. We're going to put you into groups. We're going to give you 10 minutes each, right? So you've got 20 minutes total, and play around with, try move. So first question is, if you only heard it in one ear, which ear is it? Now, Lisa had a big shift. I usually don't see a huge shift in doing that. So don't be surprised if you don't. Okay. But we never know. That's why we try. Try moving it from one ear to the other, then go twice as fast, then go twice as slow, and then play with the voice tone. Play with the voice tone. Try hearing a goofy voice. Try hearing a sexy voice if you want. You can try hearing a whisper voice. Just play around with it and then shake it off and recalibrate. And that's your round.